Newton breaks huddle and signals to his receivers. He's got 2 wide left. He's got 1 wide right. It's 3rd down and 9. He's got the ball at his own 25. 6 in the secondary.
Okay, football fans, welcome to the 2011 NFL Draft.
The 2011 NFL Draft is rivaled only by the 1983 Draft, a class that included John Elway, Dan Marino, Jim Kelly, Eric Dickerson, and Darrell Green. But as good as the 83 Draft turnout, 2011 is deeper and more complete. Let's take a deep dive into the most loaded draft in NFL history. And that's coming up right after this. Yep, that's me again, getting ready to play a bunch of pros in baseball. Yeah, you might not be an old man trying to relive his glory days of just being average, but you want to stay active and be able to listen to music, your favorite podcast, hell, this video. That's where Raycons come in. The everyday earbuds look, feel, and sound better than ever. And with their optimized gel tips for the perfect in-ear fit, these earbuds will not budge or fall out. Trust me, Raycons come with 32 hours of battery life and 8 hours of playtime. They have over 48,000 5-star reviews, and best of all, they are half the price of other premium audio brands. So after this video, go to buyraycon.com/5 points from the link below and get 15% off your Raycon purchase. Again, that's buyraycon.com/5 points from the link in the description and get 15% off your purchase. Get out there and shake it up. Raycons. There's a link throughout history, a thread that connects the fabled 83 class all the way to 2011. The 1983 draft was headlined by Stanford quarterback John Elway, a rocket-armed, can't-miss prospect. By all indications, another Stanford quarterback was a surefire bet to lead off the 2011 class. Andrew Luck was the best QB prospect since Peyton Manning, maybe since Elway himself. He was the total package, even more so than Auburn's Heisman-winning QB Cam Newton, who had emerged seemingly out of nowhere to capture a national championship in 2010. It looked like Luck would easily be the #1 overall pick, but it wasn't meant to be. Andrew Luck announced that he would return to Stanford for 1 more year, taking the opportunity to complete his degree in architecture, which might actually be useful now. For a quarterback-needy team, Cam Newton was a layup for the Panthers.
With the first pick in the 2011 NFL Draft, the Carolina Panthers select Cam Newton, quarterback, Auburn.
Next up with the 2nd overall pick were the Denver Broncos, who had just hired John Elway as their new general manager. Denver was also in need of a quarterback, but with Newton off the board, was looking to bolster a lackluster defense.
With the 2nd pick in the 2011 NFL Draft, the Denver Broncos select Von Miller.
In hindsight, the choice looks obvious, but in the moment, things were a little more muddled. Most draft experts expected and advised the Broncos to snatch up defensive tackle Marcel Darius, a space eater from Alabama. But there was another option, Texas A&M's Von Miller, a freak pass rusher with elite speed and ability to bend around the edge on his way to the quarterback. Elway compared Miller to the late Chiefs linebacker Derek Thomas, and recalling the nightmare it was facing Thomas twice a year, Elway knew exactly what to do. The 2011 class was stocked with 7th overall pick Aldon Smith, who tallied over 50 sacks before off-field issues derailed a potential Hall of Fame career in San Francisco.
With the 11th pick in the 2011 NFL Draft, the Houston Texans select J.J. Watt.
4 picks later, 3-time Defensive Player of the Year J.J. Watt came off the board, joining the Houston Texans, where he promptly became the best player in franchise history. So I just named J.J. Watt, but there's still more talent in this draft. The first round also included Robert Quinn, who's eclipsed 100 sacks, Ryan Kerrigan, a 4-time Pro Bowler, and Cam Jordan, who's notched 100+ sacks, anchoring the Saints defense. Beyond the first 2 rounds, there was another pass rusher lying in the weeds, Georgia's Justin Houston, a great steal by the Chiefs. In total, the 2011 draft featured 5 players who have already reached 100 sacks, Kerrigan, who sits at 95.5, and 4 more players with over 50, Jarrell Casey, Cameron Hayward, Smith, and Jabal Sheard. In this loaded draft, pass rushers took the cake.
6th pick in the 2011 NFL Draft, the Atlanta Falcons select Julio Jones.
When Julio Jones came off the board, ESPN featured a package of clips highlighting his worst plays at Alabama. All they could talk about were his drops. Fortunately for Jones, one team thought of him so highly that they moved heaven and earth to get him. The Atlanta Falcons jumped up from pick 26 all the way up to 6, giving up another first, 2 seconds, and 2 fourths to secure their spot in the Julio Jones sweepstakes. I'd say that move worked out. Now to the backs. It's widely accepted in 2022 that spending a high pick on a running back is a fool's errand. But in 2011, no one bid on a back until pick 28 when the Saints snagged Heisman winner Mark Ingram. Oklahoma's DeMarco Murray fell until the 3rd round, and Dallas snatched up the future 2014 rushing champ. The NFL showed restraint this time around and drafted running backs where they were supposed to go. Of course, one draft later, the Browns had to screw everything up and take Trent Richardson with the 3rd overall pick. One anomaly of this draft, though, as loaded as they were at just about every position, the QB class was uneven. Cam Newton lived up to the hype, and although his prime was short-lived, was well worth the 1st overall pick. But his fellow first-round signal callers couldn't keep up. Jake Locker, Blaine Gabbert, and Christian Ponder were all selected between picks 8 and 12. But all was not lost. The 2nd round did have talent. TCU's Andy Dalton and Nevada's Colin Kaepernick were selected back-to-back at picks 35 and 36. And even though he's a punchline now, Dalton led the Bengals to 5 playoff appearances in his first 5 seasons, a feat unmatched by any. From quarterbacks to cornerbacks, the 2011 draft had a bevy of solid defensive backs to rival the glut of pass rushers.
With the 5th pick in the 2011 NFL Draft, the Arizona Cardinals select Patrick Peterson.
LSU's Patrick Peterson was in the mix to go 2nd overall to Denver, but ended up falling to 5, where he became a mainstay in the desert, helping Arizona to a couple of playoff appearances in his tenure. But some serious DB talent went much later. In the 5th round, the Seattle Seahawks took a chance on a lengthy athlete out of Stanford, a wide receiver turned corner who had thrived under the tutelage of Jim Harbaugh. And of course, he ended up doing this to Jim Harbaugh's team in 2013. Richard Sherman became an All-Pro and one of the most outspoken players in football, to say the least. If he was overlooked, I'm not sure what you would call Chris Harris Jr. The Jayhawk corner passed through the draft without hearing his phone ring. But when the Broncos snatched up Harris in free agency, they landed a 9-year starter and a key member of the Super Bowl defense led by the number 2 overall pick, Von Miller. Harris Jr. wasn't the only undrafted or late-round gem. Doug Baldwin became a Pro Bowler in Seattle, who also found linebacker KJ Wright in the 4th and Super Bowl MVP Malcolm Smith in the 7th. And the Raiders scooped up cornerback Sterling Moore, who landed with the Patriots before the regular season and ended up making a play that helped send them to the Super Bowl. When all is said and done, the 2011 draft will have been the starting block for a few surefire Hall of Famers: Von Miller, Patrick Peterson, J.J. Watt, Julio Jones, Richard Sherman, and Tyron Smith. Jason Kelsey, A.J. Green, and Marquise Pouncey are also decent bets to wear gold jackets someday. That makes a potential 9 Hall of Famers in 2011, and if they can hit on that number, it'll be more than the 1983 draft, who had 8, albeit in 8 rounds. There may never be a draft like 2011. It was a legendary collection of players that led a new generation of football.
Shotgun snap, drops back 5, winds up, hit at the 10, ran to the 5 and fell there. Denver's got the ball! Denver's got the ball!